Okay, we're back now. We're going to go ahead and push off into texturing right now, but I just kind of wanted to show you that I put this new piece underneath, which is the actual striker, and then when it slams the staple down, it slams into the striker plate here, and you can see the striker plate right there. And then the striker plate is held together by this base. I went ahead and moved some of these vertices back just to give it a little bit more of an interesting look. Now notice that there's a gap between the striker plate and the actual base here. Now it's a little small, but if you want to, you can go ahead and scale it up and get yours to fit a little bit better. The reason why I created a whole separate piece for this is when you go to create what's called an ambient occlusion pass, which is, for the lack of a better term, some people refer to it as clay modeling. When you make the clay model or the ambient occlusion pass, your prospective employer wants to see that. And I think I mentioned this in class before, we can map the detail on to the model, or we can actually build it in. And when you build it in, the ambient occlusion will actually be able to see all those little indentations, all the little knobs, the little screws, the rivets, everything. And that's what a prospective employer wants to see, especially if you're going after a job for as a hard surface modeler, which I am. So that's kind of my specialty, as a hard surface modeler. So with that said, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to start texture mapping this right now. So the first thing I want to do is, a lot of the students were confused with what texture mapping is, and if you ever built any plastic models, you'll remember that when you used to apply the decals on, you'd have to dip the decals in water and then slide them onto the airplane. And I'm going to go ahead and give you a sample of what one of those decals look like. So the previous image was of a B-17, in which, once it's built, you have to put the decals on it so that it has the insignias. You don't want to paint those in. So in a similar way, like this piece right here has vertices, but it also has UVs that are placed right at where the vertexes are. Now, don't confuse vertexes and UVs. They're different. The UVW stands for XYZ, but in texture placement, not in geographical placement. Let me see if I can get to modify here. I'm going to show you the vertexes here. I destroyed my turbo smooth. Okay, now there's a vertex, but along with that vertex is a UV. But the UVs and the vertexes can reside in different locations, in different space, so to speak, in a different dimension. So that if you had a UV, or if you had a texture map assigned to this, you could tweak the UVs without tweaking the vertices. Because if you tweak the vertices, you can change the geometry. It won't look like this. But you can tweak the UVs so that the decal, like on that airplane, would fit exactly where it needs to fit. And once I go through this demo, you'll see what I mean. Okay? So let me get back to editable poly and go back to turbo smooth. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to assign UVs, but I want to take a look at what UVs I have in existence. So what you do is you go to the modifier list and you go all the way down the bottom to where you have unwrap UV. Okay, and that's going to add that to my stack here. And all of a sudden, and I'm running out of real estate, so I'm going to have to close Graphite down here for a sec. So I have this window now here. Now I can select, now these are UV face and triangle selections, okay? And then I can select, I can grow my selections or shrink the selections, similar to what I can do with vertices or with segments, or with faces as well. But in here also you'll notice I have the same kind of, let's see, where's it at? Oh, okay. I can reset my UVs here, but again, I don't want to confuse you, and as I'm talking, I'm thinking, and I'm going, asking myself the question, am I really confusing them? But like I said, once you see the demo, you'll understand. Okay, let me just do this. Let me just go ahead and open the UV editor. Now here's something else you're going to get into, and you're going to, hopefully you won't freak too much when you see this window come up. It's got a bunch of new tools. Okay, there it is. And let me fix my window here. Okay, now what we see now is we see this piece right here, this top piece, now laid out so that I can do some texture mapping onto it. Okay, now it looks like a bunch of gobbledygook stuff all over the place, but believe me, it is this piece but laid out. It's almost as if I unfolded it. You know how when you can go to Office Depot, buy these boxes that you have to fold up and put together. That's exactly the way this is. And our job as a modeler or as a texture artist, because there's those specialties as well, you have to unfold this so that you can map it correctly and place your decal on there. Now, one of the things we can do immediately is add a texture map to this piece right here. And I'll go back up to Editable Poly. And I'm going to say yes. And let me close this out. Okay, back to that point. Okay, I'm going to type M for materials. And I want to go in here and I want to add a new material. And the new material I want is this grid that I've set up. Actually, I got it online, but I always place it onto all my models. And I have it under my documents, I think, under generic 3D. And it's under, not surfaces. Let's see. Let me not waste your time here. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, and then I'll find it and then put it on the put it in the material. Okay, I went ahead and found it. Here it is. It's this grid. Now I'm going to apply it to that top piece right there. And I want to go to materials and shaded. Okay, now notice that grid pattern right there just is not working. Okay, it's just not working. It's kind of like all over the place. What you want when you apply this map is you want to see the grid. You want to see the grid clear. You want to read the numbers, and you want to be able to, and they should all the little squares should be square. They shouldn't be oblong and kind of like in this mess right here. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to manually kind of reproject the UVs in order to get this to look correct. Okay. Now the way we do that is let me go ahead and attach this map onto our little striker plate as well. Okay, and if you remember, when I was having this discussion with you in class, we were painting on that one 3D model's face, and I mentioned that the UVs were whacked. Well, this is what I mean by whacked. That's exactly what I meant. Okay, notice they're a little better down here on the striker plate, but they're still not perfect anyway. So I'm going to back out of there. So what I need to do is I need to go back to the to this piece right here, go back to the unwrap UVs, and then I need to establish a projection. Now those tools are right here. Okay, so what I can do is maybe make a box, and as soon as I make the box, a little gold gizmo is going to come up. Okay, so let me invoke that. Let me go to faces first. And what I want to do is I want to select all the faces here, and I want to choose the box. Okay, notice the little gold gizmo box kind of appeared here, and notice that it's kind of whacked. It's kind of whacked because I was in perspective mode. Okay, but I can change that. I can go ahead and rotate it around. And notice as I rotate it, the UVs kind of follow along. Okay. Now I want to rotate it this way, and my UVs are actually looking better. Okay. So now I want to go ahead and scale these up so that I can at least have square UVs. And you know, I should have done this when I was in an orthographic view. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to just go ahead and kill this. I'm going to go ahead back here. UV wrap. I want to, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and kill that whole thing. Okay, so now back to the regular old UVs. Go back to the modify. Okay, let me, now I'm going to establish myself in this orthographic view in the front. Make sure I'm there. I'm always afraid of moving it, so I'm going to hit Q and select it. Then I want to go to the drop-down list here, go all the way to the bottom. Again, unwrap UV. That should take a while. Okay. Now I'm back to this little roll-up window. I'm going to go ahead and select the box type. And with any luck, it'll come in the way I want it. I always forget. I have to pick the polygons here. Actually, I don't want it. I want to go here. I want to pick the faces from the unwrap UV. Now I want to go ahead and pick the box, and looks like it worked better. Looks like I'm a little more orthographic. So let me go ahead, and what I want to do now is scale these UVs up so that they're more of a square. There we go. That looks better. Now let's take a look at it in this view here. Okay, my front UVs are still a little whacked, but let me scale these out. Okay, very good. It looks a lot better. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, I tweaked my UVs. I did not tweak the vertices. Okay, the UVs are telling the stapler object how to apply the decal once I get to doing that. But this little grid that I slapped on there actually helps you get that done. Okay, so you can see the grids on there. Okay, and I'm going to do the same for the striker plate. But with the striker plate, I'm actually going to do a little something a little different. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and unwrap the UVs as well. And I'm going to assign a, let me get to an orthographic view here. So once I assign it, it's pretty straight up. Need to select it. Okay. And I need to select the, let's see, how did it apply it? I can't see the gizmo whether it applied it or not. Top. And this is the problem with operating with a small screen, and I have to because of the way I'm recording this. Let me go back to faces on that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I want to be in this viewport, and I knew I was going to lose those. Let's see if I can catch it back. There we go. Okay, I'm going to apply a planar, and if we zoom in, it's still a little whacked on us. It kind of went key synced. So all I'm going to do is just kind of rotate that back out. Okay, so we should be good, and I should be able to just to scale this up. And yeah, well, you could see the grid in there. Let me go ahead and shut this off. You can see the grid is a little better spaced. Now, the one thing you want to make sure of is that when you is that all the grids on all your pieces are approximately the same size. That's imperative, because that way you can use the same texture map and everything's scaled correctly. You have you're comparing apples to apples. So that's exactly what you want to do. Okay, so here we are, and let's see. I'm not going to go ahead and do these other pieces because these other pieces are the same. Maybe I'll go through this little exercise real quick though. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and deselect that. and maybe get to, I want to get to this piece right here. Okay. This piece here we can just assign one color and not have any decal on it. Looks like our main stapler is made out of plastic, but this base could be made out of metal and a little heavier piece. So it may not have any design splashed on it, but you notice that there is a design up here on top, which would go up there. So for the time being, I'm not going to map that, but we would map that the same way we would map this. Now let's take a look at the UVs on this piece here. So if I type M, I'm going to go ahead and assign that material as well. They are a little whacked as well. So I can go and assign a UV editor to that. I want to show you one thing here. I have been working with the unwrap UVs, but I can also use the UV map. Okay, so I'm going to try that. And here I can use the planar, cylindrical, spherical, shrink wrap, or box. I'm going to choose box, and it's basically the same result as I had before. Okay, now what I'm going to do is scale that up. Well, I want to scale the UVs up. I don't want to scale the so I want to scale the gizmo up, not the vertices. Okay, now I'm scaling the gizmo with the vertices, with the UVs, but not the vertices. Okay. Okay, try to get them the same size as that top part right there. Okay, and there we go. And what I'll do is I'll shut the video off and I'll fix this one right here, the base, because I think I'm going to have to do that one after all.